Why do so many people remember Lord Shiva only when life becomes painful and confusing? Is destiny really fixed? Or do we sometimes misunderstand it when things go wrong? And is faith in Shiva about changing life outside or slowly changing something within us? These are not simple questions, and there is no single answer that fits everyone. Across cultures and beliefs, people have always tried to understand why life brings both joy and struggle. Some believe destiny is already written, while others believe our choices shape our future. This debate is still discussed today in philosophy and psychology, especially in topics like free will and human behavior. Research in behavioral science shows that our habits, environment, and decisions can strongly influence our life path, even if we cannot control everything around us. This means that the idea of a completely fixed destiny is not fully supported by modern science, but at the same time, uncertainty is a real part of life. In this space of uncertainty, many people turn towards spiritual figures like Lord Shiva. According to traditional Hindu texts, such as the Puranas, Shiva is seen as a symbol of transformation, calmness, and acceptance. These are not just religious ideas. For many, they represent a way to handle stress, loss, and confusion. It is important to understand that people do not all see Shiva in the same way. For some, it is deep faith. For others, it is a source of emotional strength. Both views exist, and both deserve respect. This video will not promise miracles or easy answers. Instead, it will explore real reasons, real emotions, and real ideas behind why people turn to Shiva during difficult times. If you are curious to understand this deeply and honestly, stay with us until the end. And if you find this meaningful, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue sharing thoughtful and balanced content like this. There are moments in life when everything feels like it is falling apart at the same time. A person may lose a job after years of effort, face constant arguments in a relationship, or struggle to manage daily expenses. These are not rare situations. Studies on stress, such as reports shared by organizations like the American Psychological Association, show that financial pressure, work stress, and relationship problems are among the most common causes of emotional strain. When these pressures build up, the mind becomes overloaded. People start to feel tired, confused, and unsure about what to do next. It is not just the problem itself, but the feeling of having no control that makes it harder. At this point, many people begin to think, maybe this is my destiny. Maybe my life was meant to be like this. This idea that everything is already fixed and cannot be changed is a common belief found in many cultures. However, it is important to say clearly that this is a belief, not a proven fact. Different traditions explain destiny in different ways. Some say it exists, while others say our actions still play a major role. Modern psychology also suggests that choices, habits, and environment can shape outcomes over time. This means that while we cannot control everything, we are not completely without influence either. Emotionally, this confusion can lead to anxiety and overthinking. A person may keep asking, "Why me?" or "What did I do wrong?" Sleep becomes difficult, focus becomes weak, and even small problems start to feel big. This is often the moment when people begin searching for deeper answers, not just practical solutions. Logic alone may not feel enough, and the heart looks for something that brings peace. This is where spirituality slowly enters the picture. Without planning it, many people turn toward figures like Lord Shiva. This does not always come from strong religious practice. Sometimes it comes from a simple need to feel calm, to feel understood, and to find a sense of meaning during a time when life feels uncertain. To understand why people turn toward Lord Shiva, it helps to first understand who Shiva is, not only as a religious figure, but also as a symbol. In Hindu thought, Shiva is often described as part of the Trimurti, along with Brahma and Vishnu, where each represents a different role connected to the cycle of life. Traditional texts such as the Puranas and the Shiva Purana describe Shiva as the force of transformation. This includes destruction, but here destruction does not mean something negative or harmful. Instead, it is understood as a necessary step that allows new things to grow. For example, in nature, old leaves fall so new ones can come. In a similar way, endings in life can create space for new beginnings. This idea is widely accepted in Hindu philosophy, although interpretations can differ across regions and traditions. Shiva is also often shown in deep meditation, usually in the Himalayas. This image is not just artistic, it carries meaning. It reflects calmness, focus, and control of the mind, even when surrounded by silence or difficulty. Many people connect with this image because it represents a state they wish to reach, especially during stressful times. Symbols linked to Shiva, like the third eye or the trident, are also interpreted in different ways. Some see the third eye as a sign of awareness or deeper understanding, while the trident is often linked to balance and control. These interpretations are based on tradition and belief, and they may vary. Another reason people feel close to Shiva is the idea of simplicity and acceptance. Unlike some other divine figures shown with royal settings, Shiva is often described as living simply, wearing basic clothing, and staying connected to nature. He is also believed to accept all beings equally, without strict judgment. For many, this creates a sense of comfort, especially for those who feel left out or judged in society. It is important to note that these meanings come from cultural and religious traditions, and people understand them in their own ways, depending on personal belief and experience. When life becomes painful, many people do not immediately look for solutions. They first look for a way to handle the pain itself. This is one of the key reasons why people turn toward Lord Shiva during difficult times. In many traditional beliefs, Shiva is not seen as someone who removes all suffering instantly, but as someone who accepts it and remains calm within it. This idea connects strongly with real human emotions. For example, when a person loses a loved one, there is no quick solution that can remove that pain. In such moments, the need is not for answers, but for acceptance. This is where the image of Shiva, calm and still, even in difficult conditions, becomes meaningful. From a psychological point of view, this kind of belief can support emotional coping. Research in psychology, including studies discussed by the American Psychological Association, shows that belief systems and spiritual practices can help people manage stress, grief, and uncertainty. This does not mean that faith changes external events, but it can change how a person responds to them. When someone believes they are not alone in their struggle, their emotional burden may feel lighter. This is why many people say they feel peace when they pray or meditate, even if their situation has not changed yet. Another important reason people feel drawn to Shiva is the idea of non-judgment. In many stories and interpretations, Shiva is shown as someone who accepts all beings equally, without strict conditions. For people who feel judged by society, family, or even themselves, this creates a sense of safety. It allows them to be honest about their pain without fear. For example, someone who has failed in their career or made mistakes in life may feel more comfortable turning toward a figure they believe will accept them without criticism. It is important to be clear that this connection is based on belief and interpretation, not a guaranteed outcome. Faith can support emotional strength and resilience, but it does not replace practical action or solve every problem. Different people experience this in different ways, and not everyone may relate to it in the same manner. The idea of destiny has been discussed for thousands of years, and even today, there is no single answer that everyone agrees on. Some traditions suggest that life follows a fixed path, where events are already decided in some way. Others say that human effort and choice play a strong role in shaping what happens next. This discussion is often called the debate between fate and free will. It appears in many cultures, not only in Hindu thought, but also in philosophy from different parts of the world. Because of this, it is important to understand that when people say, "This is my destiny," they are often expressing a belief or feeling, not a proven fact. Modern research in psychology gives another useful point of view. Studies in behavioral science show that habits, daily choices, and environment can strongly influence outcomes over time. For example, a person who develops consistent study habits is more likely to improve academically, while someone who builds healthy routines may improve their physical and mental well-being. These patterns do not guarantee success because life also includes factors we cannot control, such as sudden illness, economic changes, or unexpected events. However, they do show that our actions matter. This means destiny is not completely fixed, even if it may feel that way during difficult moments. At the same time, it would not be accurate to say that we control everything. Life includes uncertainty, and sometimes events happen without clear reasons. This is where many people feel confused. They may wonder how much control they really have. A balanced understanding is helpful here. It is reasonable to accept that some parts of life are outside our control, while still recognizing that our responses, decisions, and efforts can shape many outcomes. Belief systems, including faith in figures like Lord Shiva, often play a role in how people deal with this uncertainty. For some, faith provides a sense of stability and meaning when things feel unclear. Psychological research suggests that such beliefs can support resilience, helping people stay calm and focused during stress. However, it is important to be clear that belief itself does not replace action. Outcomes usually depend on a combination of effort, circumstances, and sometimes factors we may never fully understand. Real-life situations often show how people use faith not as an escape, but as a way to stay steady while facing problems. Consider a student who has failed an important exam more than once. This situation is very common, and education research shows that repeated failure can reduce confidence and increase stress. The student may start believing that success is not meant for them. At this point, turning toward prayer or quiet reflection connected to Lord Shiva can help them calm their thoughts. This does not suddenly change exam results, but it may help them focus again, rebuild a routine, and approach studies with a clearer mind. Over time, small improvements can happen through consistent effort, not instant change. In another case, think about someone dealing with financial hardship. Losing a job or struggling with income is a real issue faced by many families. Reports from global organizations like the World Bank show that economic stress affects both mental and physical well-being. In such situations, faith can act as emotional support. A person may spend a few minutes each day in prayer or meditation, not to expect money to appear, but to reduce fear and stay mentally stable. This emotional balance can help them continue searching for work, learning new skills, or managing daily needs more carefully. Grief is another area where people often turn to spiritual beliefs. Losing someone close creates deep emotional pain that cannot be quickly solved. Mental health studies suggest that acceptance is an important part of healing, although it takes time. For some individuals, thinking about Shiva as a symbol of calm acceptance helps them slowly process their loss. It gives them a quiet space to sit with their emotions instead of avoiding them. In daily life, even smaller stresses like work pressure or family responsibilities can build up. Simple practices like breathing exercises, meditation, or silent prayer have been shown in research to reduce stress levels and improve focus. These practices are sometimes connected to spiritual belief, but they can also be used in a general way. It is important to note that these examples show coping methods, not guaranteed results. Faith may support emotional strength, but progress usually comes through steady action, time, and real-world effort. When people look at the image of Lord Shiva, they often see more than a religious figure. They see a set of simple life lessons that can be applied during difficult times. One of the most common lessons is staying calm under pressure. Shiva is often shown in deep meditation, even in challenging surroundings. This idea connects with modern research on stress management, where techniques like mindfulness and controlled breathing are shown to help reduce anxiety and improve focus. While these practices are not limited to religion, many people connect them with spiritual meaning, which can make them easier to follow regularly. Another important lesson is accepting change. In many traditional interpretations, Shiva represents transformation, which includes both endings and new beginnings. In real life, change is constant, whether it is a new job, a loss, or a shift in relationships. Studies in psychology show that people who adapt to change more easily tend to handle stress better. This does not mean change is always easy, but accepting that it is a normal part of life can reduce resistance and emotional pain over time. Letting go of ego is also a key idea, often linked to Shiva. Ego here does not mean confidence. It refers to the need to always be right, to compare with others, or to hold on to pride even when it causes stress. In daily life, many conflicts grow because people are not willing to step back or see another point of view. Learning to reduce ego can improve relationships and lower tension. This idea is supported by studies in social psychology, which show that empathy and flexibility help build stronger connections. Simplicity is another lesson people take from Shiva's image. Instead of focusing only on material success, this idea encourages a balanced life where basic needs, mental peace, and meaningful actions are valued. At the same time, it is important to understand that faith alone is not enough. Taking responsibility for actions is necessary. Belief can support motivation, but effort, discipline, and consistent action are what lead to real change. A balanced approach, where faith and effort work together, is often the most practical way forward. As we look deeper into this journey, it becomes clear that people do not turn toward Lord Shiva mainly to control destiny, but to find a sense of inner peace when life feels uncertain. In difficult moments, external success often becomes less important than emotional stability. A person facing loss, failure, or confusion is usually not asking for a perfect life. They are searching for calmness, strength, and a way to understand their situation. This is a very human need, and it is supported by research in psychology which shows that emotional safety and stability are key parts of well-being, especially during stress. Faith, in this context, often acts as a psychological anchor. It gives people something steady to hold on to when everything else feels unstable. This does not mean that faith changes external events directly, and it is important to be honest about that. Instead, it can influence how a person thinks, feels, and responds. For example, someone who believes they are guided or supported may feel less fear and more courage to face challenges. This effect has been discussed in studies on resilience, where belief systems can help people recover from setbacks more effectively. Another important point is the search for meaning in suffering. Life includes pain, and not all of it can be explained or avoided. Some philosophical and spiritual traditions suggest that meaning can be found even in difficult experiences, although this idea is personal and may not apply to everyone in the same way. For those who relate to Shiva, this meaning is often connected to acceptance, transformation, and growth. It helps them reflect on their life, understand their emotions, and move forward step by step. It is also important to recognize that everyone's experience is different. Not all people will connect with this path, and that is completely valid. The real insight here is that the strength people seek is often already within them. Shiva becomes a symbol of that strength, not a replacement for it. In the end, the journey is not about escaping life, but about learning how to face it with more balance, awareness, and quiet confidence. As we come to the end of this discussion, one important idea becomes clear. The reason many people turn toward Lord Shiva during difficult times is not simply about changing destiny, but about finding inner balance while facing life as it is. Across this video, we looked at how people deal with real problems like stress, loss, financial pressure, and uncertainty. We also explored how the idea of destiny is understood in different ways, and how modern research in psychology suggests that our choices, habits, and environment play a meaningful role in shaping outcomes, even though not everything is under our control. From a factual point of view, Hindu texts such as the Puranas describe Shiva as a symbol of transformation and acceptance, while psychological studies, including those referenced by organizations like the American Psychological Association, suggest that belief and mindfulness practices can support emotional stability. At the same time, it is important to clearly understand that these beliefs and practices do not guarantee changes in external events. They mainly influence how a person responds internally, helping them stay calm, think clearly, and continue taking practical steps in life. In simple terms, what people often seek is not a shortcut, but support. Faith can give a sense of meaning, patience, and strength during uncertain moments, while personal effort, decisions, and real-world actions continue to shape daily progress. Different people will interpret these ideas in different ways, and that is natural, since human experiences are not the same for everyone. So the deeper message is not about destiny being fully fixed or fully controlled, but about understanding the balance between acceptance and effort. When a person learns to stay calm, think clearly, and act with responsibility, they are better prepared to face life's challenges. In that sense, the symbol of Shiva becomes less about outside control and more about reminding people of the strength, awareness, and stability that already exist within them.